Welcome to the Casual Show. This time we're doing another breakdown of the game because that game was absolutely ridiculous. I'm of course talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves versus Dallas Mavericks, Game 2. And I'm not going to lie, I do have a horse in the race, but I'm not going to get into that. This is a bias-free review to the best of my abilities. Man, LUKA Doncic is just incredible. As soon as I saw Rudy Gobert get the switch in the fourth quarter, I knew it was over. He hits the game-winning three over Rudy Gobert, and Naz Reid cannot hit the three at the end of the game. And Dallas wins by 1 point, 109-108. In the third quarter, I already said it feels inevitable that the Mavericks will come back. And this was early into the third before their 21-7 run on the T-Wolves. But I'd like to just go quarter by quarter. Talk about the defensive game plans that each team did, because honestly, this was a great defensive game from each team, especially in the first 2 quarters by the Timberwolves. Of course, later in the game when fouls are given, it kind of devolved a little bit, but quarter one, I just started off with Luka. Luka got his, man. It was a pretty even first quarter. Cat struggled, Ant struggled. One thing about this game, it really showcased how much you need these role player guys on your team. These guys 6, 7, 8 deep into the rotation. You need these guys to take over. Because when Ant is having a bad game, when Rudy can't convert anything in the paint, when Cat isn't hitting anything, I believe he shot 4 for 16 on the game. Man, Cat cannot play like that. And Naz Reid, of course, stepped up. I believe he hit 8 for 10 of his three-pointers and also hit a clutch dunk down the stretch. Having these guys like Jaden McDaniels or Naz Reid take over the game, you cannot have that as the Minnesota Timberwolves. You need your stars to take over because in these clutch situations, they're the only ones who can do it. Naz Reid took the last shot, of course, for the Timberwolves, and I don't like how Ant got passive towards the end of the game. But once again, let me start from quarter one. I talked a lot about the Timberwolves' defensive game plan in the first quarter. It changed. So in the first game, they played a lot of drop coverage. And in this one, they seem to be playing further back, trying to limit the threes. And it actually worked because in the first half, and none of the stars were doing good. I mean, on both sides too. Luka didn't have a great first half. Kyrie didn't have a first great half. Kyrie finished with 5 points, not shooting very well. And I talked more about Luka's playmaking because, yeah, I said he didn't have a great half. That's more so scoring the ball. Luka's playmaking has been ridiculous, and the Timberwolves really struggled to defend the alley-oops inside the paint. There was about 8 or 9 that I could count that I could really think about right now. A lot of them going to Derek Lively, some to Daniel Gafford, and I finished by saying Wolves cannot stop the lobs inside. They were just getting completely destroyed on the inside, where Rudy Gobert, obviously, if you play less drop coverage, you're going to get hit with that. And they were trying to limit the threes because their personnel really isn't built to stop 2 shifty guards who have a good handle. In quarter 3, I talked about Minnesota coming in with a 14-4 run. Man, this is what you like to see for the Timberwolves offense at this point. But I don't know, man. The Mavericks, once they get their shot going, it's pretty hard to stop them. That's why I said Mavericks may have concern with their focus on jump shots. That's, of course, if they're not hitting, because that was the whole game plan with the lack of drop coverage that the Minnesota Timberwolves began to run. Of course, when you do that, of course, you gotta expect the threes eventually going to hit when you have Kyrie and Luka on the other side. And, of course, it did hit. Kyrie hit 3 out of 3 three-pointers just to start the third quarter. Kyle Anderson's been a great addition for the T-Wolves, man. He comes off the bench and moves extremely slow at his own pace, but he gets his buckets, and it was so beneficial for the T-Wolves to have a guy like that off their bench when their starters cannot do anything on the offensive end. I know Ant finished with 20-plus points, but a lot of those were free throws. He really could not get much going. I believe he shot 4 for 15. Actually, no, I'm checking. 5 for 17 on field goal attempts. Ant really just did not have his great game. Towards the end of the second quarter, I was just talking about how uncomfortable Luka seemed, which was true in the first half, not so much the second half. And his shots just were not falling, although they did end with an 8-2 run. Kyrie with 5 points did not play very well in the first half, as I said earlier. But, man, this second half really devolved for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and it felt pretty obvious that the T-Wolves would not win this game. I don't know what it was. It was just a feeling. LUKA Doncic is inevitable, I guess. Start off the third quarter, Cat finally hits a three. T-Wolves had great defensive pressure, and Cat gets scored on from time to time, but, I mean, he's improved so much. He was playing up defense. He was playing on the perimeter. Something we saw Rudy Gobert attempt to do, which he got cooked by Luka. But he was playing up on Kyrie and actually did decently. Of course, he fouled from time to time, which Cat always is in foul trouble, which kind of sucks. But, yeah, PJ Washington is just amazing for the Mavericks. He plays good defense, but every time you need a clutch three, every time you need a nice just bucket, he's there for you. He could just get buckets on a whim. Early into the third quarter, Dallas 21-7 run. Ant was very contained. He began to get really passive around this time, and I'd never want that for Ant, man. That's one of my compliments to him as a player. Ant, no matter how bad of a game he's having, especially in the Game 7 of the Nuggets game, he closed out the game, even though his shot wasn't falling the entire game. But, man, he really needs to just become a dog again. He needs to get his aura back, because it seems like he's really just kind of nervous to shoot towards the end of these games against the Mavericks. And I know they have a different defense, of course, than the Nuggets, but yeah, I mean, Ant's your star player. He has to convert in these moments, show why he's a star player. And this is when Naz Reid really started to come up huge, 5 for 5 from 3. It shows how depthy the T-Wolves are, man. A guy off your bench coming in, getting 23 points. I mean, Nickeil Alexander-Walker was also great defensively, but came in, got 6 points in 14 minutes. Kyle Anderson, 7 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists in 20 minutes. I mean, if your star players aren't going to play great, and you have these guys off the bench, and you're still holding up, that's a good sign, usually, but not when your star players are being basically zeros on the offensive side of the ball, and Anthony Edwards cannot keep up with Kyrie at all. And in the fourth quarter, man, I don't have a ton of notes here. I continue with saying Ant is really struggling because it was a tough game for him. Kyrie hits his first 2 threes of the series, which was a crazy stat because he had 30-something points in the first game. But he hit his first 2 threes of the series in the fourth quarter. And again, hit a deep three to make it his first 3 threes of the series. And Naz Reid was now 6 for 7 from 3, carrying the offense. I added more notes. Ant is becoming too passive, as I alluded to earlier. But, I mean, I have no problem with him passing off from time to time, especially when Naz Reid is on such a heater. But, man, he really needs to just become the dog, become the aura man. But, yeah. Naz Reid, once again, hit another 3. 7 for 8 from three-pointer. Naz Reid, once again, hit a 3. And he was really starting to heat up there. He finished 7 for 9, but at this point, he was 7 for 8. And, I mean, man, Lively, another oop on the inside. They were just destroying them in the paint. I have the shot charts. I can put them up. I think I'm just going to leave it. But on the inside, man, the Timberwolves were just not doing great, which is crazy because they pride themselves on the interior defense. But it's hard when you have to keep up on the perimeter with 2 small guards, which is obviously, like, your Achilles heel, man. You were built to stop the Nuggets. You weren't built to stop shifty guards. And I kind of failed to see that when I did my analysis of them before the series. But, yeah, Mavs are up 2-0. I'm going to end with this. Down the stretch, Ant had a terrible turnover trying to pass to Naz Reid. Great defense by Derek Lively. Man, I have not seen a rookie play this polished in so long. Like, obviously, there's better rookies than him. No question about that. But to play this great in a playoff series, obviously not the most eye-opening offensive numbers, but he was just solid the entire game, catching alley-oops, converting anything he needed to. Let Kyrie, let Luka cook. And, of course, it led to the Ant turnover, 106-108, and I knew it. I knew it. Luka is inevitable. I knew this was going to happen. Luka cooks Gobert, hits an insane 3 over him, and the Dallas Mavericks win 109-108. So, are the T-Wolves done? Is this the end of the series? I'm not going to go that far yet. I can definitely see the Mavericks winning. Obviously, they're up 2. And 78% of the time, people who go up 2 are they're going to win. Man, the T-Wolves can come back, but this is really tough. Both your players, Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, are just not having the greatest series. And if they're struggling, I mean, you kind of got to kiss the series goodbye. Although, if they turn it on, also, this could be a better sign. If they turn it on, maybe they can win this series. So who knows, man? Two games in, and of course, there's a famous saying: a series never starts till a road team wins a playoff game, and they've won 2 in a row. The Mavericks have won 2 in a row, so the Mavericks may be playing the Celtics in the finals. And yes, I'm just gonna say the Celtics because the Celtics are winning. I know it's 2-0 for them as well, but man, yeah, the Pacers are done. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a subscription. I would very much so appreciate. Like the video, and yeah, Dallas Mavericks fans, let me know how you're feeling.